All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to another episode. That's right, of the London is Blue podcast. Hopefully your favorite Chelsea podcast out there and a part of the Men in Blazers Media Network. Dan along with Nick here. And if you're watching on the YouTube, you've seen Nick puff out the air and already just trying to get into the right mood, the right attitude to talk about a very unfortunate untimely draw against Ipswich Town, 2-2 for Chelsea. We're reviewing that in this episode here. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened in this one, answering the main question, is Chelsea's dream of the Champions League over? Not looking very good. We're also going to talk about Maresca in the moment too, because he had some quotes that drew a lot of controversy after the game in relation to the fans, and I think really framing it from the question, like, has he lost the fans, the team, the directors and owner at this point with what he has going on? And just a couple other thoughts about the performance on the day. But I don't know about you, Nick. I very much enjoyed the moments after the game when I could walk away and forget about Chelsea Football Club for about 30 to 90 minutes. That was a nice thing to do because it did not leave the best taste in my mouth after watching what should have been an easy, comprehensive win, knowing that you had the biggest goal scorers for this team on the bench or unavailable, that it should have been, word with beginning with an A, academic for Enzo Maresca and team, and it was not in any way, shape, or form.
No, I mean, I watched the Masters this afternoon, and I want to shout out Rory McIlroy for winning the Masters, completing the career Grand Slam. He is one of the few good people in sport, and he's been chasing this fucking thing for so long. And I think anyone with an emotional bone in their body was super pumped for him, and hopefully he goes on to win a bunch more shit, because we need good people to win stuff and to show that that's a positive way forward instead of being a complete asshole. But to start on your premise, Dan, yes, this should have been an easy 3 points. We've said as much multiple times as we looked at the run-in, and it turns out that the team completely forgot to show up for yet another half of football. That is a trend that we will talk about later in this podcast.
It's kind of like when you set the alarm for 15 to 20 minutes after you actually need to be awake. That's kind of how, I mean, this game was actually a little bit of the opposite here, because we were there for the first 15 minutes and then we fell asleep after the fact. We kind of were awake for the alarm, but we hit a late snooze thinking we were okay. And then it took us until halftime to get plugged back into this one. I love to touch on a couple three-word match reviews to set the stage. I had a collection here I picked for you, Nick, to frame it. Obviously, some Ed Sheeran ones. There's some about Maresca. There's a couple that are Masters or golf related, which I thought would tickle your fancy. Why don't you run through them for us?
Yeah, no, I love doing these on a day like today because the creativity really does show. Ashwat with Shape of You. And if you don't know, Ed Sheeran is an owner of Ipswich Town. So there you go. CFC fan with Patterns of Play. Beautiful. Maria Vluk is Tactics. What Tactics? Chris Budrick. Brudrick, not Budrick. We'll talk about the booze later. Sorry about that, Chris. McKenna owns Maresca. Truth. Even back to the championship. Yep, sure does. Hemp Hens with championship manager result. Harry with sporting director's masterpiece. Callan with won't miss Ipswich. They're going bye-bye, even despite this crucial point. And then Matt Fitz with massive double bogey. Rory on 13 into the creek today. That's what this was.
Oh, look, I went with not the Masters, and that is going to target a pretty broad group within Chelsea at the moment, because despite what claims may have been made in interviews for the positions that they've received or the interviews that they've done with the press, we do not have the best individuals suited without this organization to deliver Chelsea and Chelsea fans what we are accustomed to. Full stop.
Correct.
What's your three-word match review, Nick? On a more positive note.
Mine's a real one, and it's it's obviously the crowd's fault.
Absolutely. We've been saying it all season, Nick. We've been saying it all season. The Chelsea supporters are the problem.
It's the crowd's fault. There could be no other explanation for what happened today, and I'm glad we finally got to the bottom of it. Damn it. It's these damn crowds, Dan. Come on.
Well, look, getting into the match in particular was Ipswich Town, again, as a reminder, this past Sunday, April 13th in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge with a 2-2 scoreline. Incencio in the 19th minute, Johnson in the 31st minute. And I'm going to say that it's a Cucurella goal. I'm not taking the OG. I'm not taking that away from him in the 46th minute. I'm not. And then Sancho in the 79th minute. You can disagree or agree, but this is one crowd, member of the crowd, trying to do something for our team. I'm trying to keep Cucurella on my back, man.
I have firmly put Cucurella on my back all season, Dan, and it was definitely an own goal when you look at the final frame, unfortunately. Sorry to say.
Not taking it. Anyway, the lineup is actually 11 Chelsea supporters because, again, it was the crowd's fault in this one.
Sorry about my right-wing performance, guys. That was tough. It was a tough look out there.
Well, one guy named Robert Sanchez, crazy, just gets pulled from the stands to support the team in between the sticks. Has a really rough day out. Trev Chalobah, Tosin, Levi Colwill, Mark Cucurella as your back line with Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez in the middle. It was Madueke coming back in, which we thought in the preview show might be the case with Pedro Neto on the left wing, Cole Palmer centrally, and Nico Jackson up top. We saw 3 subs. So one at the half with Tosin, Malagusa coming in for him. And then we saw Jadon Sancho come in the 68th minute, or one of our goal scorers. And then Nkunku comes in the 87th minute. A lot of unused subs there. And Nick, any surprises for you from a lineup perspective? It did feel as if we saw the team we expected to see. Maybe other than missing Reece James in any capacity in this match, maybe Ty George after his performance in Europe would have been another person to see, or even Josh. Like you could have called upon some of the names on the bench here.
Yeah, I think when you saw the Thursday lineup, you knew what this lineup was going to be, and this is, I think maybe Reece James subbed in for Tosin is our strongest lineup. It's our strongest lineup. I think Madueke on the right, Neto on the left, Palmer in the middle, Jackson up top. You have the 2 midfielders in there. Hard to argue with the lineup. I mean, they clearly saved the strongest lineup for the Premier League, and that lineup did not perform.
Well, and to think about some of the stats here, I mean, there was some performing on the day. Chelsea had 74% possession, the 26% for Ipswich Town, 2.27 XG to their 1.07, 4 big chances to their 3. 34 total shots to their 13. 9 of the 34 were on target. If you wanted to start to figure out like what blood vessel is going to start to bulge in your head.
26?
26.5.
Yeah. No. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, to get 34 shots is good. You got a high volume there. You're just unfortunately, with the goalkeeper, also named Palmer, the Ron Palmer had a masterclass here. 8 total saves on the day that he was able to pull out of his hat. I mean, the only other random stat I want to bring up is our good friend Nath with the 26% of Ipswich points in the Premier League this season were won against Chelsea, which is about the same as the conversion, the shots on target.
Yeah. Yep. That's just math, Nath.
Wow, that's his math. Look, we're going to talk a little bit here. I don't think there's a shithouse moment in the match, right?
No.
Okay. Just want to be fair and give you the opportunity to say it. We're going to talk about the odds of Chelsea's Champions League opportunities for next year. Spoiler, they're not looking good, but we're going to do it after this ad break. So stay tuned. Be right back. Nick, is the chase for the Champions League over?
Oh, categorically, Dan. Yeah. I'm not burying the lead on this one. It was already on shaky ground. You simply cannot lose any points on home to Ipswich. Just can't. And this was probably our easiest remaining fixture. Brentford also up there. It's over. This team, whatever it is, this team does not have it. We'll talk about reasons why, all that sort of stuff. But they're there is not any realistic path for us to get back in this thing. And I just, part of me is like, when you're in this uncertain situation of like, I don't know, will other teams screw up, or where this was a weekend where no other team screwed up. Everyone won but us. And it's just crystallized that we're not at that level. And I think it's almost freeing to think about it that way, to know that we're not going to be there next year. It's not mathematically over, of course, but like the trend lines are what they are. And I don't buy into the fact this team's going to turn it around against our remaining fixtures, which are tough.
So mathematically, just to put it out there, I know you're the eye test guy. The math would say, and this is pulling from Opta, who they run an analysis at the end of the weekend's fixtures to kind of update their supercomputer, their AI, whatever. And they try to figure out like what is the probability that the teams are going to finish in a Champions League spot and a Europa League spot. So as of right now, obviously Liverpool's 100%. They have Arsenal at 100% for qualification. And then it's Newcastle, Man City, Nottingham Forest projected to finish third, fourth, and fifth on 67.5, essentially, 66.8 and 66.4. So again, they're using rounded points, which is, you might see some shifting then between like City and Forest, both in that like 66 points. They give the odds of Newcastle and City finishing in the Champions League spot at basically the same number, 83.4, 83.9. Forest is a 75.3. And then for 6th and 7th, we've actually shifted. So you think about this, like a couple weeks ago, we were very clearly in that, like, we're going to finish in the 4th spot. They're now projecting that we finish in the 7th spot behind Aston Villa. Aston Villa with a 62.8 expected total points. We are at a 62.5, though they do give us a nod, just a touch, in finishing in a Champions League spot at 28.75 to Aston Villa's 25.42. So 28.75 for us, 25.42 for them. I think the reason being is that Chelsea still have Newcastle and Forest in our remaining fixtures. And
are those home or away fixtures? Just a quick question for you.
I want to talk about that. They're both away.
Yeah.
They're also the third to last game and the last game of the season. So at least you could say, if you're trying to make a positive case, you have almost the longest amount of time to get right before those games that are effectively 6 quarters.
Yes, Dan.
Creating a positive narrative.
Yep.
And we have so that's kind of where it stands. We're not mathematically out of it, but now you need to win out. You can't draw games, which we have shown an inability to be successful at. You need to hope then that one or more of the teams that are in this contention group are dropping points. And I'm going to tell you, I watched City rebound against Palace this weekend. They definitely have enough in the tank still. I've watched Forest all season waiting for them to like massively slip up, and they just don't do it. Newcastle.
They lost against Everton this weekend, and they have been sliding a little bit, but like they're in a better position. Like they
didn't have work. They didn't have work earlier in the season.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which we didn't do. And then Newcastle are just like in the extreme ascendancy at the moment, along with City, who are showing why they've won the won the Premier League and previously won the Champions League, in easy fashion.
Well, and Villa out of nowhere.
Villa, yeah.
I mean, Villa was 8th for a long time, and if you think about it, they have 4 wins on the bounce. They're 4 wins on the bounce. So yeah, they're down in 7th right now, but they were ahead of us at start of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt was, Matt Law, Villa fan, was convinced that, of course, Villa would never make a charge up the table like this. That would be a ridiculous sentiment. But when you look at what they have left, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, it's Newcastle home, City away. That's going to be tough. Then it's Fulham, Bournemouth, Tottenham, United to close. I mean, Tottenham just gets buried by Wolves today. I mean, United gets buried by Newcastle. Fulham, you just don't know what team you're going to get. I mean, they'll play well against us for sure, no doubt about it. But
They are a game behind at the moment, Fulham, with 31 played to the 32 that Chelsea have played now. They have to play Bournemouth at the day that this podcast will release on Monday, the 14th of April. If they win, if they were to beat us, they would actually again go level on points at 54 points. So like they are not outside of any type of like potential pursuit of a European spot, even after we got to watch them get whacked at home in the FA Cup, which was, made me feel like maybe Fulham were really struggling, but they've just kind of yo-yoed, right? Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. It's tough. It's tough to chart a path for Chelsea, and based upon recent results, to have the confidence to project that Chelsea are going to be capable to reignite a form they had earlier in the season. When you have Cole Palmer struggling, when you have Nico Jackson struggling, when Nani Madueke comes in the last two games and has looked bright, but maybe he's not getting full matches because he's still coming back from a fitness situation. Like that's an element there, and you're still conceding dumb goals. Like
dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's just go through the schedules here because, of course, Chelsea, Fulham away next, Everton home. Everton looking pretty good right now, by the way. Liverpool home, Newcastle away, United home, Forest away. Pretty tough, right? You go and look at Newcastle. They obviously beat the hell out of United today, like they should have done. Crystal Palace at home. Palace are kind of up and down. Villa away will be tough. I mean, that's Villa's best chance to get back in it. Ipswich home, Brighton away, Chelsea home, Arsenal away, Everton home. So I'd call that like a schmedium. It's some winnable, some tough, but like they're playing pretty well right now.
Sure.
City, cruise control. Everton away, Villa home, Wolves home, Southampton away, Bournemouth home, Fulham away. I mean, they're gonna be clear by the end. They're gonna be clear third by the end of this for me. Tottenham, Nottingham Forest has Tottenham away, guaranteed dub. Brentford home, Palace away, Leicester home, West Ham away, and then Chelsea home to end it. I think we probably have the toughest schedule of these guys too, Dan. Like I already read off Villa, so I'm not going to read that off again. But like, there's just nothing to suggest that unless we are playing Spurs at home and have the energy of the crowd to like carry that team to a victory. We were there. That's exactly what happened. That these guys are going to get their shit together and score enough goals to overcome the mistakes that you just mentioned. It's just not happening. I mean, some of these chances, some of the saves that were made today against us were incredible, and like credit to Palmer for doing that. But they should have also just been put away. I mean, the lack of clinicality, again, for like the 5th, 6th, 7th straight year, going all the way back to Antonio Conte, is going to cost us. It's just going to cost us. And we continue to learn, whether it was the end of Roman or the start of Clear Lake, we just cannot figure out how to be clinical. And when we watch teams lap us at the end of the season, like Newcastle, City haven't been the most clinical they've ever been, but they're surely going to be at the end of this run. I guarantee it. And like even Forest are clinical. They don't create a ton, but they finish when they do. Like we're going to be left wondering how this happened. It's pretty simple.
You see the way that Ipswich were able to score their first goal in this game. One shot, one goal, brilliantly executed counterattack. That is like something I would have a very hard time trusting any of our current attacking options to execute in the same way. I mean, we've seen Palmer really struggle. I mean, he obviously gets an assist today, which is good. Like anything that gets him closer to saying he is like in scoring position is a thumbs up plus positive for me. I mean, obviously Nani Madueke has found some form again, which I'm very excited about. I mean, I think that Jadon Sancho shooting and scoring is big for him. Like we've needed him to do it for a long time.
Where the hell did that
now.
come from?
Look, he can do it 6 more times between now and the end of the season, and it would go a long way to probably convincing us to bring him on full time. Which, you know, if he wants to be here full time, great. If not, I mean, you would argue that it's a pretty big failure of a loan for him. But look, we're gonna take an ad break because the next block is all about.
It's even more fun. Are you sure?
Are we having fun yet? We're going to talk about Maresca's comments and maybe just like where is then the fans, the team, the directors. Like there's just a lot of fallout I think that we would anticipate from this. And again, like, it's not the most fun thing. Most fun thing would be talking about how the Chelsea women are heading into an FA Cup final for them, which is really, really great. And we love that because 4 trophies is still on deck. And that's a pretty exciting thing. But that'll be in the YouTube video later this week. So you should watch that one here because it'll more Nick smiling in that one. But we're going to throw an ad break in right now. We get back. It's the Maresca conversation. We conceded because the fans unsettled us, says Maresca. Apparently is what one of the headlines read. That's not the exact quote. Let's just be very fair, like to Maresca in the ways that we can before we maybe be a little less kind, but that is not what the exact quote was. And I think framing this,
our boy Kieran took a little bit of liberty with that one. I think just a little bit.
Oh, you know, the reporter never writes the headline at the top of the article. That's the let's just expose the truth here. There's someone else who writes that, and they're just responsible for the article copy.
The editor.
Yes, there was a quote after the game. That the question in the post-match press conference was in terms of the way they were playing or mentality. He was asking about the kind of the condition. Said no, and Maresca, I think we lost a little bit of confidence because we conceded, probably because of the environment. This is the moment you have to continue doing the right things and don't change the plan. Also because we are a team that most of the time our goal kick will start from playing short. The second goal, we decided to play long because the environment is there. And we concede the second one. You have to be strong. You have to continue with the things that you're doing. And this is in direct reference to Sanchez kicking it long. Sanchez, who was getting booed, or Chelsea and generally was getting booed by supporters at the time. And I'm very honest, Nick, like Robert Sanchez has kicked the ball long plenty of times this season. Like, I don't think you can just say in this one moment, well, he got booed this time, so he kicked it long this time. And this time, because he was booed by the supporters, that's why we ended up conceding the goal. Like, there's a lot that happens before you concede a goal in the game of football. And I think to zone it down, to try to bring into the blame conversation the supporters is a little disingenuous, underline a lot disingenuous. And then before you kind of talk, because I know you're chomping at the bit to get to this one, I just want to follow up with his response to this, because they did follow up to the question in the press conference. Reporter asked the question, want to ask you about that, specifically the second goal, because it felt like after the first goal went in, the crowd, the atmosphere, everything changed, which you could see on the TV. Like the 18 seconds for a goal to go in after the restart, phenomenal change. Is an issue with the players, continuing the question, and how they responded to that. Do you want more from the supporters in that moment? You mentioned also the goal kick. I presume that's not something you wanted to see. Maresca follows up with his second answer. No, it's just for sure not. But I can understand because because probably we conceded the goal and they decided to play a long ball. But sometimes, I say many times, sometimes you go long, it doesn't mean you're going to control something. The second goal we conceded is for that. And then in terms of the fans, I've said many times, we are stronger with fans. We are a better team. It's up for them to decide the way. For sure, today, probably with the 0-1-0-2, it's normal to be the way they were. So I'm just going to let you now, because you gave me the opportunity to frame Maresca's statements here, to share your feelings on kind of Maresca's framing of the challenge here.
Dan, we're just for reference, where do Ipswich sit in the table?
Ipswich are in the, they've gone through the moon door, Nick. If you got a little Game of Thrones reference back there, because everybody loves when we make those.
They are 18th in the table. right?
With no chance of getting 17th, by the way.
No. Yeah, I mean, the gap is 14 points between 18 and 17. It's a very, very clear bottom three this year. They have a minus 34 goal differential. They have scored 33 goals. They have given up 67 goals. They're on 21 total points. 4 of those points have been against us, as we've talked about. I think the fucking audacity to make your system and your players not responsible for the actions on the field, make this about the atmosphere in a game where you clearly even started pretty well, we're in the ascendancy, and then do the same shit that you continually do over and over, which is jam all these players up high and get countered super easily, lose your whole position, and then 4 players are responsible for a goal going in that had no business happening in the first place. The fucking audacity to mention that the crowd might be upset in that moment is insane. It's insane. Your team playing your system screwed up. It's not the fans' fault. It's not the fans' fault. I'm sorry. It's not. Like, as we were talking about this before the show, we have gone through seasons where the fans have had an incredibly short leash for a manager and a team and a system. I would say that Poch got a much shorter leash than what Maresca has been given this year. There's been a lot of benefit of the doubt. I think because people are upset with the whole sporting structure, a lot of people have given Enzo Maresca the benefit of the doubt and said, "Oh, I mean, he's just doing what they want him to do. He's just playing the system that the sporting directors and the owners want him to play. Like, how responsible is he for any of this? Like, and part of me still, I believe he should be given a little bit of grace, but bro, we're not the ones conducting the training. We're not the ones that are telling you what to do on a match day. We're not the ones picking the lineups. Your team needs to play better, and it's up to you, not us. Period. It's crazy to think that the fans might get a little antsy when Robert Sanchez has the ball messing around with it near his goal. Gee, I wonder why we would feel that way. Is it because of the numerous catastrophic errors that he's made this season? Perhaps. So, look, man, this crossed the Rubicon for me. I there have been dumb statements in the last 3 months that have puzzled me, and I haven't gone full 2-footed on you. This is it. I'm done. Don't blame the crowd for this. You couldn't beat Ipswich Town at home. It's not the crowd's fault. Period.
We're going to let that sit for a second and just allow people to percolate with your thoughts around that. I'm going to follow up with just where Chelsea have been in the last 15 Premier League games. So if you're thinking about the middle of December to now, I'm going to play our game.
Is it good, Dan?
It's not good.
Yeah,
it's not.
I know.
Yeah. So I'm just going to throw a couple of guesses for you, Nick. We've played this game before. Don't look further down the script at the screen. Just respond quickly with an answer. Has Bournemouth or Chelsea had more points in the last 15 matches played?
Oh, Bournemouth for sure.
Bournemouth, but it's close. They've had 20 points. We have 19 over our last 15.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you Wolves as a follow-up for the next one.
Wolves or Chelsea? Surely Chelsea have more points than Wolves.
No. Wolves have 23 points in the last 15 played. They have a 7-2-6 record, 19 goals scored, 19 goals allowed, a perfect 0. We are a -1 goal differential in our last 15. I'm going to give you Brighton next, who sit below us on the table. Okay. Yes. Brighton are 24 points, so you made the right call there. I'm going to give you Crystal Palace.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
Crystal
they're
Palace.
on a tear. Yeah.
27 points to our 19.
They're 8 points better than we are. Palace are 8 points better than we are.
Yeah. Manchester United.
Oh, don't do this to me. Please, no. I'm going to go no. I can't. No.
No, but it's closer than you would like it to be based upon the league positions. They are at 16 points over their last 15. We are at 19.
God, you're kidding me.
And they have those 16 points with a -6 goal difference over that same period.
That, dude, if Sam doesn't clip that, I don't know. What are we doing?
I don't know if he knows how to social clip. Yeah.
We're 2 points or 3 points ahead of United.
Yeah, over the last 15 played. And they've gotten their 16 with a -6 goal difference. We've barely been able to get our 19 with a -1.
I'm not, by the way, I'm not looking at the script. I'm vibing. I'm just pure vibes. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Everton would be the only other one that's kind of in close proximity that I think would be interesting, but I'm sure you're going to get it right.
Yes. I mean, yes.
Yeah, Everton are 23 points over their last 17, so they have played 2 more, so it's actually kind of closer if you look at the aggregate of like 15 games. But I just want to frame it as like this second half of the season is exactly what happened with Leicester. Like that last half of the season for him there with the 13 matches played, he was at 19 points. Like Ipswich was better at 30 points over those last 14. Millwall with 13 was 26 points. Middlesbrough had 25 points over 14. Like his second half of season management is highly questionable. And I don't know if that comes down, like it's obviously 2 different styles of clubs, 2 different styles of players, 2 different types of circumstances. So like it actually now is more comparable than saying, oh, well, he didn't have Palmer, he didn't have Nico, he didn't, like if you actually remove all of the variable pieces and just kind of compare it like his performance one to the other, like there's something that goes on with his second season or second half of the season that is highly questionable and leaves us in a position where this actually might be what Sam quotes, actually heading into like sorry territory, but a couple degrees worse.
Oh yeah. I mean, as you remember, Sarri won the end of season trophy over our London rivals.
Was great, yeah.
And not insignificantly finished 3rd in the league.
Yeah.
And that season brought through Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
We won't speak about the injuries that ended up happening.
But they were a huge part of the run. Correct. I mean, like that was part of the spark that got us out of the doldrums.
The reason why I'm saying worse than Sarri, and like trying to use him as a comp, right? Like clearly the relationship between supporters and Sarri broke very early. Like
very early, yeah.
Idea of what the football was going to be and the comps and the highlights and the work we did and trying to kind of get excited for him coming in did not come to fruition. But he did finish 3rd in the league, made sure to get Champions League through league position, ticked a box there, ended up winning the only the competition he was in, right? Like you can't fault him. Like, oh, we weren't in the Champions League. Well, we didn't play well enough the previous season to be in the Champions League. So he could only win the competition he was in, which was the Europa League. So he won that European trophy. Like we are looking likely to not finish in one of the 5 positions that will get you Champions League. And we, like the other half of that bracket with Fiorentina or Betis, if we're playing the way we are now, it's actually going to be a way more difficult game than it should be.
Oh, for Chelsea. Yeah, no, it's not a guarantee. It's not a lock by any stretch of the imagination. I would just say that Sarri season, everyone remembers so terribly. We finished on 72 points.
That last 5 was brutal. Last 5 was so rough.
Last 5 was brutal. It agreed, and it was definitely not a fun experience. I'm not hoping for that.
Yeah, you had a Tottenham team that banana peeled harder than you, an Arsenal team that banana peeled harder than you, and a United team that banana peeled harder than you, and that gave you enough with the
Yes.
the earlier season results to get it across the line. So
But that will be even on the Opta projections. Then all I'm saying is that they have us finishing on 62 points. That's 10. That's 10 more points. 10 in the sorry season that everyone hates and remembers very poorly, right? Like that's the level that we're at right now. Is 10 points worse and maybe a trophy less than the sorry season.
I would almost make the case that this team, this manager, the grouping of players, like actually getting into the Champions League. Like I want to be back in the Champions League. Like as a
Totally.
Chelsea supporter and getting to play the best competition, I think actually this team currently would get smoked in the Champions League
Oh
next
my
season.
God.
Um,
No,
and
yeah,
I don't think that's a unfair thing to say. I think it's a very realistic take about where this team is, and like you might reinforce and be better over the summer if you can bring in the right talent. Obviously, we got some players coming in, like Andre Santos coming in, very exciting. You potentially get a striker. Obviously, we're linked highly with Liam Delap, who had a fun second half of the afternoon there today. Like you could get better, and like that this take today could be highly different after the summer transfer windows happen, after the Club World Cup happens. But at least in this moment today, on the 13th of April, we would be people would be excited to draw Chelsea, which is a really terrible thing to say. Cause like 10 years ago, if you think about drawing Champions League Chelsea, you're like, fuck, like, I
Yeah.
can't believe we got this team. Like they're going to really like screw it for us. And like people would actually be excited at the alternate there. Europa League actually might be the level for this team. Like if we don't reinforce heavily, it actually might be the level for this team at the moment.
I mean, Opta is where I am or I was in preseason. Opta has us finishing 7th. Nick Verlaney widely panned in preseason for projecting that Chelsea would finish 7th. I even apologized for it at our midseason review because, wow, we were doing so well.
I guess the other thing, just kind of quickly, because obviously it's a lot of, not fun stuff to talk about, but I think, there's also the question around the team and like just being able to play like halves of matches and feeling as if maybe Maresca is getting like, again, like they're not bad for the full 90 minutes. Like, I think we want to be very frank in saying that. Like, they're not terrible for 90 minutes. There was a first 20 minutes that looked really great, except for the finishing. There was a moment after the restart that looked really, really bright when we got the goal and Sancho's kind of performance in there. Like, there's some movement, there's some passing, there's some stuff that looks really nice. But we cannot do it with this team for a full 90 minutes right now. I think it's just the most frustrating part of this, Nick, because you don't know when they're going to switch off.
No, this is my biggest. And by the way, this is not just a Maresca thing. This is not just a Clear Lake thing. This in the league, we haven't won the league since Antonio Conte did it in 2016-17, right? So we're coming up on a decade of us not being competitive, not really challenging for a league since then. And outside of the odd, Lampard first season where the team played committed, but they were a little naive, and a little bit of the end of Pochettino, and then that Tuchel, I think in the league Tuchel wasn't that great, but the Tuchel cup runs were fucking incredible, right? Like full commitment, full performances. Like there are just very few full 90 performances that you can look at in the league over the last at least 5 years, but probably going back further than you'd like to admit, where a Chelsea team has put together full 90s consecutively to go on a huge run, right? I would say like maybe the end of last season, maybe the beginning of this season. But even then, if you look at the performances this year, I don't know if this team has put together a full 90 this year. I really went back and looked at it. Some of our best performances, I think people reflect on the early Brighton performance with a lot of fondness, right? Because that was so entertaining. We basically played the first half and didn't play the second half, right? You even think about this last week in Poland. Didn't play the first half, played gangbusters in the second half. Think about this today. Basically played the second half, didn't play the first half. As far as I know, and I'm not the club accountant, these guys get paid for a full game.
I know you're
So
not. This is why you're not the math guy.
well, see, there I go thinking again, Dan. That's my problem. I don't know what it is. Like I think you can legitimately go a long way back and go, wow, Chelsea have not thrown together a league campaign where they were fully committed, playing full 90s since probably we won it last. Like, and that's really really scary to think about because we've come nowhere close to challenging in that time. I mean, nowhere close. That sorry season, we were 25 points behind Liverpool in second and 26 points behind City in first. Like that's a monstrous gap between first, second, and third. That's crazy. Like we're nowhere close. Like we're nowhere close. This year we haven't been close before. So all I'm saying with this is until Chelsea and the ownership structure all the way down figures out how to get a stretch of full 90s in the league, consistent performances, limited mistakes, shot conversion, the whole kit and caboodle, right? We will continue to be in the exact fucking place that we are in right goddamn now, which is nowhere. We're nowhere.
I mean, it then takes us to like because again, it's a structural problem, right? Like we did harp a lot on the Maresca piece here, but like there's players not delivering in terms of the performance that they're putting out. There's a manager who's struggling to connect with supporters. And then there's, sporting directors who are espousing what they believe to be their football ideology and how they're going to accomplish that. And there's a ownership group that has kind of decided like what the club's kind of like go forward model is on talent acquisition and who we go out and buy and recruit. But like, I think like from the ownership down, like the sporting directors, like if they're advising you that Rob Sanchez is like part of a winning strategy to be a Champions League contender, to be a even a Europa League competing team next season, I would question that. I would question that highly and ask them to show why we couldn't potentially get a better keeper like some of the other teams have in a similar price range for what they brought Rob Sanchez in for. Like, and again, it's not just to harp on Rob Sanchez because there's been plenty of other very questionable purchases. Like Kieran Dewsbury-Hall has not elevated Chelsea this season. He's not pushed the players ahead of him to be better, but we sold other players who potentially would have been in competition with the grouping around them to get him in. We didn't bring in Andre Santos to be competitive here, who's having a really, really good time in Ligue 1 this season, to, have space and have minutes for Dewsbury Hall. Like, so it's all the questions have to be asked. And like, and then the manager has to be asked the same questions. Like, hey, Cole Palmer was firing under Mauricio Pochettino. And he had a good part in the start of the season, but like he has regressed along with the rest of the team. Jackson has regressed. Gusto has gotten, has regressed. Like there's just a lot of like season over season decline in performances that it has to be a part of the conversation. And like the one-offs of Josh or Ty, having some, really positive minutes in the Conference League, just they can't be things that paper over some really, really big structural questions that the team is going to have to answer this summer. And unfortunately, the Club World Cup could not come at a worse time in terms of
Totally.
like how quickly it happens. Because I think in another season, if the manager did not have that quick turn, I think you might say like, hey, when we know that it is not an option for us to acquire Champions League or to acquire Europa League, we're going to make the move and get gone. And we're going to make the move on the sporting directors. Like, but we are months and years behind some of the teams we want to be competing with.
There are only, in my mind, 3 players that have been consistently better this year than they were last year. Those 3 players are Enzo Fernandez, better this year than he was last year. Madueke, better this year than he was last year. And Cucurella, better this year than he was last year. Out of the entire squad. Like Nico, is about level. He might, kind of get back to where he ended up finishing last year, but it's clearly not going to be like a huge season over season improvement at this point, unless he goes bananas at the end of this. But, again, the odds of that kind of seem unlikely. Cole certainly in a really tough spot right now, and I don't know why.
And I think we projected that he was going to have a decline season over season because it was almost unsustainable the way they played last season. And when you start to take out some of the penalties, like you were going to expect some regression. Yeah. This is more than regression.
Yeah, this is like start high, then it drops off a cliff. I mean, it's great. I mean, and these are the guys that you rely on for a large majority of your goal scoring, even still. Since they've gone off the boil, they're still a huge part of your goal scoring, right? So it's all very up in the air, and Reese has only been back for such a limited period that it's hard to like really gauge whether he's like better or worse. So like maybe ice that one for a little bit. But you're totally right. Like the Club World Cup could not come at a worse time for Chelsea Football Club. If you think about the end of this season, if we fart out of everything at the end of this season, and then we have to go play the Club World Cup. I mean, can you just imagine the atmosphere and like an unknown whether Enzo Maresca is going to be there after the Club World Cup? Like,
and we don't know. We don't know if that's what the club is going to do or not. I mean, I think there's just a lot out there. I mean, we hope. Again, we are Chelsea supporters first, and we do a fun podcast, or hopefully a fun podcast, depending upon what you feel if you listen to this one.
Some days,
some days. Second, we would hope that between now and the end of the season, Enzo Maresca turns it around. Enzo Maresca figures out the Da Vinci Code for this team and is able to unlock everything and get this team into a Champions League spot to win the Conference League. Like nothing would make me happier than him figuring it out, the players figuring it out, the sporting directors kind of figuring out a good plan for next season, the ownership getting locked in. I just think every bit of data and observation over the last 32 matches in the Premier League and of the last couple of years under this sporting director and ownership group would tell you that's not likely to be the outcome. And so I don't think this is a doom and gloom type of thing. I think this is like a natural realization and reality of everything that has happened up into this moment. And so I think that is the thing that we're trying to wrestle with as supporters at the moment right now, is that like we want to will this team forward. We want them to be better than they are. And our aspiration for them is always going to be overmatched to what the ability and capabilities of everybody at Chelsea Football Club are going to be. And that is just like a stark difference between what the supporter is hoping for and dreaming for and what the players and the manager can deliver.
Well, and look, not to be Debbie Downer here, but like think about when we dropped out of the Champions League in the previous administration, right? You drop out Mourinho 2 when he comes back, wins the league, and then we drop out, right? Because we have a terrible season. Conte comes back right away, saves us. We win the league, we're back in the Champions League. Conte shits the bed, right, in year 2. And then Sarri comes back the next year, saves us. We get back in the Champions League and win the Europa League. So we would have been there. I think regardless, but like you saw this like very sharp, we're out, we're in, we're out, we're in. This will be, if we don't get it this year, this will be 3 seasons without it. And then the longer you go, the harder it is financially, and there's no guarantee you're ever going to get back there. Like that's the reality of this. And this isn't Nick just going, oh, here's the worst case scenario. It happens. Like there's a long line of teams who fall out of this competition, who struggle to get back, who even go the slow route that I know you were kind of looking at the Europa League table for next year and all that sort of stuff. Like it's not an easy climb back. So the league always should have been the priority, and we just can't get it right.
Well, look, I think that's a good place to leave it, because obviously Chelsea are going to be back in action to get the business done with their Conference League fixture.
We did a full pod and we didn't take a half off, which I think was really important.
we were inspired by other performances this weekend, like Rory in the Masters. You had to go the full distance on it, and we absolutely did. Every hit of the ball, we were there for it.
What if it just cut off after like the 30-minute mark?
That would actually be a great joke.
That
but
would
Jake,
be.
Producer Jake, don't listen to that. Don't do that one. But anyway, Chelsea are back on the midweek. They're going to be playing again, hopefully to advance in the Conference League, which we would love to see. And they're back in the weekend to play a Fulham over the Easter weekend. And so plenty of Chelsea matches coming your way, plenty to stay tuned for. Obviously, we've got content on YouTube coming this week too. Nick is going to be espousing tons of praise for Sonia Bonpastor and the Chelsea women's team. And then we also have midweek pod for you as well. But thank you so much for listening. And look, it's going to get better, hopefully. But until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.